Welcome to my personal hell. Way back in either 2013 or 14, for some demented reason, I convinced myself I wanted a Nintendo Wii Mini. Why? Because I'd saved up just enough money for one. I do recall not saving for anything in particular at the time, but upon seeing a £90 Wii console in the Argos catalogue, I was sold. So the purchase was quickly made without much research done beforehand. I had used a Wii before and, I thought they were cool, if a bit dated by that point in time, but I didn't really mind that. I gave my mum the money and she went to pick up the Wii for me whilst I was at school that day. And of course, in typical mum fashion, she forgot to grab the free game that came with it. I remember being upset about this, but really and truly, it wasn't her fault, and regardless, she did end up getting me the game some days later. However, in the meantime, I was left with just the Wii Mini, and I was in for a rude awakening. It was during those few gameless days that I was treated to what this system really had to offer. Nothing. There was nothing on this box. No Wi-Fi, no YouTube, no Netflix. I couldn't even indulge in some browser activities. The home menu was completely blank and all I could do was make Miis. And so my disappointment shroud began early on. I needed that game. And thankfully, it was actually a good one. The honeymoon phase once I got my copy of Wii Sports Resort was a rare highlight during my time with the Wii Mini. It wouldn't keep me occupied forever though. I did attempt to go down a Wii game content rabbit hole in the hopes that I would build a mental list of all the games I wanted for the system. Keep in mind, although Wii games were generally going for pretty cheap, I still only ever ended up with 4 titles in my collection. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword was originally at the top of my priority list. This game looked great and really spoke to me. It seemed like just the kind of thing to help me break into my new console. Unfortunately, I kid you not, after visiting every game shop in East London, I had to settle for Twilight Princess. I really didn't want this game because nothing about what I saw of it really spoke to me at all. I think it's looked on more fondly than Skyward Sword today, but 12-year-old me really didn't want to play the Wolf Zelda game for some reason. Regardless, I had a new game to play and I wish I could have simply enjoyed it for what it was, but the aura of disappointment continued to shroud my initial playthrough. That was at least until I got stuck. Like a lot. It was all stupid and tedious things in hindsight, but I do recall having to go on YouTube multiple times to figure out how to progress certain sections of the game. I'm not gonna act like that wasn't fun to have, but I really wanted a change of pace besides just Wii Sports Resort not long after getting Twilight Princess. It was at this stage in my Wii Mini journey that I begun consuming a bunch of Nintendo-centric content on both the Wii and Wii U. It dawned on me pretty hard that I had made a massive mistake in buying this system. Not only was the original Wii better in every way, from the GameCube backwards compatibility, the online play, and the general Wi-Fi functionality, but also had I just been a bit more patient, I could have probably saved up enough money to have just gotten a Wii U instead. It kinda sucks to be fully aware that your entire trajectory as a gamer was probably severely altered by the Wii Mini. Despite my close proximity to Xbox growing up through my older brother, I had always been a Nintendo kid at heart. My first ever console was a Nintendo DS, and my favourite game of all time remains a DS exclusive. I used to tune into those Nintendo Directs. I was plugged into the content bubbles. Sammy Classic Sonic fan was my guy. Even before playing a single Zelda, Metroid or Kirby game, I had convinced myself I loved all these franchises because of the sheer amount of Nintendo content I was consuming. I think I was out with my family one day with £5 in my pocket and I went into the game shop looking to add something worthwhile to my struggling Wii collection. Unfortunately, all the good games were outside my price range, so I left with a copy of Resident Evil The Dark Side Chronicles and Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. I would never go on to purchase another Wii game to this day. An on-the-rails shooter and a weird motion control Sonic racer, I just couldn't take it anymore. I ended up getting stuck on a boss in Resident Evil. I don't know if I ran out of ammo or something, and as for Sonic Riders, I just hated that game. Truly, one of the worst gaming experiences of my life, and I couldn't even tell you why at this point. I might have just had a huge agenda against the Wii Mini by this stage, because when my last set of batteries died for my controller, I never replaced them. All 4 of these games remained unbeaten, credits were never rolled, and my Wii Mini would go on to collect dust for years and years, moving from my living room to my bedroom and eventually wasting away in my wardrobe where I had completely forgotten about it until now. I made this video because the Wii Mini recently celebrated an anniversary and I saw a bunch of posts talking about it on Twitter, which in turn unlocked my own memories with the system. Upon dusting off my Wii Mini and my 4 unbeaten game collection, I started to reminisce on this gimmicky era of retro tech fondly. Perhaps I didn't give the Wii Mini a fair shake and my disappointment clouded the potential fun I could have been having. Because of my regret in buying a Wii Mini, I basically left the Nintendo camp and returned to my Xbox roots around 2016. I bought an Xbox One and I built up the bulk of my video games library within that ecosystem before going all digital and migrating to PC as an adult. That being said, it's still strange how you can just sit there looking at a piece of tech you hated years ago except with a genuine intrigue today. But that's exactly what happened. And while sitting there just looking at my Wii Mini and the 4 games I never rolled credits on, it dawned on me. I've got some batteries now and I think I'm ready to give this thing one last try.